and my opponent plays the pawn to e4. So I'm going to play c6, my Caro-Kann defense. Here, I'm playing the defense I know best because the opponent is a worthy opponent after all. He plays d4, so I play d5. He takes, so we exchange, we have the exchange variation of the Caro-Kann. He plays bishop d3, knight c6 to put pressure on the pawn d4. He plays c3, knight f6 to try to play bishop g4, but here he's going to play h3. No, he plays bishop f4. So he lets me play bishop g4. Maybe he will want to play queen b3 to attack the pawn b7, but I could play queen d7 to defend. Or even perhaps queen b6. So we're going to play this bishop g4 move anyway. He plays knight to f3. All right. So I'm going to play pawn to e6 to have bishop d6. He plays the knight to d2, and now he's really going to try to play queen b3. You see, now that he's protecting his knight well, he's going to want to attack the pawn b7. But with bishop d6, I have no problem. If he plays queen b3, the bishop will no longer control the square b8, and I could play rook b8 in opposition. So we're going to play bishop d6. He takes once. I recapture with the queen. And for now, listen, the development is correct. He does castling, I do castling. There are no surprises. Queen to e2. So the bishop takes check doesn't work. Anyway, I can recapture with the knight without any problem. You have to be careful sometimes because there can be bishop's check, king takes, then knight's g5 check to recapture the bishop. But here it doesn't work at all with the presence of the knight on f6, which protects the bishop and protects the pawn on h7. So here he plays queen e2. What does he want to do? Does he want to put the rooks on e1? Simply connect his rooks? I'm going to play rook b8. The idea is to have this minority attack to prepare the b5 push. For now, I can't yet because he has double control of the square. Maybe play a6 first, but it won't be easy. But now that he plays queen e3, I am able to play b5, b4. That's what a minority attack is. It's advancing the pawns where I am in the minority. By the way, I have fewer pawns than him on the queen side, but to try to weaken his pawn structure, try to create breaches, open lines, and create weaknesses for the opponent. So he plays queen e3. I don't understand what he's aiming for here. It scares me a little because with a player of this caliber, if you don't understand what he wants to do, you won't be able to diffuse the attacks and it will turn out badly. He wants to unpin himself to play knight e5 actually. And there, I wouldn't be able to take because of the recapture with the pawn and the fork. That's what he wants to do. That's why he played the queen to e3. Knight e5, that's going to be annoying though. Otherwise, what I can try to do is take his knight, unbalance the color game. I have an extra piece to play on black, but he has the bishop on a white square. But I'll try to defend myself on the white squares with g6 to try to block his bishop on a white square. Because the problem is, if I let him play knight e5, then I'm going to get hit with f4 too, you know? So maybe knight d7 to control the e5 square well. But the knight can then suddenly appear on g5 and attack h7. It's difficult to defend well, but we'll try. I'm giving up the bishop on a white square. So now he's going to recapture with the knight. He still wants to plant his knight on e5, that's for sure. There we go. I'm going to play knight d7 to control the e5 square. And my idea is to block the bishop on a white square with g6. Then still the minority attack based on b5, b4, but perhaps also the push to e5. I also need to look at this push. Although after the exchange, it risks an isolated pawn for me, maybe it will still give me the conditions to be able to exchange quite a few pieces and be able to neutralize my opponent. Bishop takes h7, that doesn't work. King takes, knight g5, I move away, queen h3 to threaten h7, but the knight comes back to f6 to defend the square. My idea is even to be able to move the rook and have this square on f8 for my knight to defend h7 well. If he can't attack me on the white squares, I don't have to worry about the black squares since he has one less piece than me to attack me on the black squares, due to the fact that he has the bishop of white square. So my idea is above all to protect the white squares of my king side because his semi-open file is on the e file, the file next to my king side, so he can have more pieces arriving at my king. So I must defend the white squares of my king side well before launching the attack on the black squares on the other side. So maybe an idea like rook c8, then knight to f8. The knight holds the square on h7, maybe play g6 at some point too, to consolidate on the white square and push b5, b4, and attack the black squares over there with the opening of the two files for the rooks. That's my battle plan, but no doubt it won't go exactly as I'd like. But as I don't remember which grandmaster said, it's better to have a bad plan than no plan at all. And we'll see during the analysis if this plan was really bad. Because after the game, we're going to analyze, right? We're going to try to understand exactly everything I could have improved in this game, in this opening. Whereas on his rook, you see that he is thinking a lot. It was me who thought a lot just before, and he himself is currently building his development plan here. If I play knight g5 immediately, g6, queen h3, and the knight can return to f6 to defend h7, you're going to tell me yes, but it was already on f6. Why did I move it? Well, I moved it so that the knight wouldn't enter e5, actually. But he plays rook e1. You see, he has this intention to play knight e5, so that I can't actually take because of the pawn recaptures. But we're going to play it anyway, you know. I'm going to play rook c8, you know. On knight e5, this knight will take pawn recaptures, the queen will come to e7 with the knight then to f8 to defend h7. Come on, rook c8. Sometimes, on f6, the knight can be eliminated or diverted from its protection of the pawn on h7. But with knight on f8, it's much harder for the opponent to come and dislodge my knight. So yes, it is passive, it only defends h7, but that is my opponent's main point of attack. He wants to attack h7 with the bishop, the knight, and maybe the queen. So try to remove this attacking possibility on the pawn on h before launching the counterattack on the queen side. You see, everything is in place for me. For example, if I play knight e5, knight takes, pawn takes, queen 7, everything is in place to launch the counterattack on the queen side, b5, b4 with the two rooks behind. As for my queen on e7, which can sometimes come to f6, and the knight which can return to f8 to defend h7, I think I will hold the position. You see, with g6, the queen on e7, on f6, on g7, having this defensive setup. In terms of time, I'm a little worse off, but he doesn't have a very, very big advantage either. So he plays queen g5. And now what does he want to do? I don't see it. He wants to bring the rook over as well, perhaps. It's going to be difficult to hold everything, but we'll try to manage. Are we going to play knight f8 right away or not? I'm debating b5 immediately. What is he going to want to play? Queen h4 to attack h7, knight f8, knight g5 afterwards. g6. Rook e3, rook h3. That is precisely how he is going to attempt to handle these situations moving forward. Isn't that right? All right, let's go ahead and play b5 anyway. We're not just going to be on the defensive in this position either. We need to try to create some counterplay against him. He plays the rook to e3, but that's it. He's going to start attacking me. It's going to be very difficult. I'm going to prefer playing knight f8 for now, because the rook can slide along the third rank and join the attack. So first of all, this knight moved to protect myself a little. But you see, even if I manage to play b4, capture, capture, if I move the knight, I won't be able to take the pawn, because he will be able to play bishop takes h7 check and recapture afterwards. It's a very good idea to defend laterally on c3, in addition to being able to slide along the third rank to join the attack. He's playing very well here. So he plays queen h3. That's it. He's attacking h7 a little. I have the knight, but he's going to want to bring the other knight and the rook. So here I'm thinking about queen f4, knight g5, g6. I'm attacking his queen. Queen h6, queen f7. He's going to play rook f3, rook g7, but I lose the pawn on 7. It's very tough. It's very, very hard to defend everything. We are going to try to play rook c7 here, which will allow us to establish a solid lateral defense as well, giving us more options on the board. Knight g5, I can't play h6. He's going to play rook h3, and I won't be able to take because of the mates, you know. But you see, if I play g6 and I advance after the pawn, the rook will defend on the 7th rank, and the knight defends e6 well. I don't have much time left, though. Luckily, there's that 3-second time increment. So we play g6. Afterwards, I can play f6, push back his knight. But I'm going to wait for him to move his rook, maybe to h3. I'm going to send b4 anyway, you know. Even if it won't distract him much, I hope it distracts him a little bit. He plays queen h4, I play b4. So I'm going to take once. There we go. I'm going to try to offer him an exchange of queens here, if the knight moves. And otherwise, you could maybe look to join the kingside with the queen f6, and also the queen g7, if that works for you. And you see that fortunately I put the rook on c7 to defend f7, you know. He comes here. I'm going to double the rooks on the file. He comes there, I play knight d8 to defend f7 well, and I attack c3 now. He plays there. Am I going to play h5 or not? No, I'm going to take the pawn c3. Maybe I should have... I'm coming back to c7 to defend. He's going to play h6 against me, maybe? No, because queen simply takes. Now I'm going to play h6 because, well, he wanted to take and hit h7. I play g5. I'm trying to push back his pieces. He comes there. I'm going to come and give him a little pin here. He comes here, f6. We're going to try to defend well. He comes there, queen c7. The two knights are defending the white squares well. We're going to offer a trade. No, not right away. He comes to attack h6. I must defend. He comes to attack f6 again. Ah, I really didn't manage to defend that position properly. It's a tough spot, but I'm offering to trade queen here to try and stabilize things. Ah, that check really hurts my position and puts me on the back foot. Does this check really hurt? I don't know. I'm coming back here. Come on, we're going to take here. We're going to give him a little check there. We're going to go attack the pawn on a2. We're going to play a little check, but I can't take the pawn, you know, because there will be a check against me. We're going to check him here. Ah, he's going to play king b2. Oh no, I got trapped. I'm out of time. I'm losing on time. I can't do it. I can't do it. I lost, but it'll be interesting to go look at the analysis. So you see it. The Lichess computer gives me 81% accuracy against 87 for my opponent. And you're going to say to yourselves, well, that I played much worse than in the other games. Yes. In the other games on my channel, when I face players rated 1700, 1800, or 1900, well, I get much higher accuracy percentages, sometimes approaching or even exceeding 90%. But when the opponent is really very strong, well, they will cause your accuracy level to drop because they will put you in difficulty. They will pose problems for you. That's what happened in the game. Another difficulty that also sometimes explains the drop in accuracy percentage is time pressure, time trouble, which is what happened in the game. But we are going to come back to this opening and this middle game because there are some very interesting moments. And besides, I had the advantage at a good point in the game. Let's take a look. So my opponent starts with e4. I play c6, the Caro-Kann, then d4, d5. He exchanges, takes on d5, takes on d5, and bishop d3. Well, I play knight c6 to attack the pawn d4. He plays c3 to defend, and I play knight f6. And here, many players play h3 so as not to let me bring the bishop out to g4. but the opponent plays bishop f4, so he lets me bring the bishop out to g4. No problem. Knight f3 is played, pawn to e6, he plays knight d2, bishop d6, exchange of bishops on the diagonal, and both players will kingside castling, so we have finished the opening with an approximate equality. He will play queen to e2, he connects his rooks, I play the rook to b8 as well. And there he plays queen e3 against me. He wants to unpin his knight to play knight e5 and then free up the pawn to be able to play f4 again and put a stranglehold on the square 5 to have firm control of the center to better attack my king. Moreover, you saw it in the game, he is looking to attack my king. And so here I'm going to exchange the knight on f3 and I'm going to play knight d7 simply to control this square 5 so that he cannot enter on e5. But he plays rook on e1. He is looking for this square 5 to be able to play f4 afterwards, to have the rook that can slide later on the third rank. And so in the position, I am going to play rook f to c8 to free up the square f8 for the knight in defense and prepare the counterattack on the queen side with the minority attack. He plays the queen to g5, I send the pawn to b5, and there, it's a tactical mistake for me, which the opponent will not take advantage of. But why is it a tactical mistake? Well, because the sacrifice on h4 that didn't work earlier works now, but it's true that it can be surprising. And besides, my opponent didn't think that what didn't work earlier works now. Why? Because after b5, he can play bishop takes, king takes, queen h5 check, king g8, and knight g5. And normally the knight can come back to f6 or f8, push back the queen and control the square h4. Except that here, the special thing is that his queen attacks the pawn on f7. So that means that the push on b5 doesn't work. And besides, I felt it during the game. I'll tell you, at the moment I'm playing the game, remember if you refer a little bit to the moment of this video, I am trying to defend my king side. And then I'm saying to myself, yes, but I'm not just going to defend because in my head I'm thinking, but they're going to say that I'm only defending, that my viewers will think I only make defensive moves and that I need to be more active. And I tell myself, well, I'm going to play b5 to find some activity. In reality here, I should have already played, for example, knight to f8 to already set myself up defensively, or perhaps find other moves. The computer suggests rook c7, which I ended up playing, by the way. Because rook c7 actually works defensively. The rook on the 7th rank. If he sacrifices now, it's not good for him because after knight g5, I can play knight to f6 and the rook defends f7 and the knight defends h7. So I had to prepare this b5 push first with the move rook c7 to defend myself laterally on the 7th rank. But I played b5 too recklessly. My opponent doesn't think about it. He plays rook e3, so he still has the desire to attack. You know, he wants to play queen h5, knight g5, rook h3. And you see, he wants to put all the attacks on the pawn on h4. And so this time, I defend myself. I won't let the position slip by twice. I play knight f8. He plays queen h5. I put the rook on the 7th rank, so that's important. He plays knight g5. I play g6. He puts his queen on h4 and I send b4. Now is the right time. And you see the analysis cursor is starting to say that the position is becoming a little bit better for me because maybe I've only been defending, but I have defended. And in reality, he doesn't really have any development on the king side. He is practically at the maximum of what he can achieve, so he is going to try to reinforce even more, but the computer shows that in reality, the attack is contained. He is going to play rook f1, he is going to put a second rook, capture on c3, capture on c3. There I play queen d8 to look to exchange queens if the knight moves. He plays queen h6 to avoid this problem. I bring my queen back to defend, it's the best move. Rook f3, and that's why I had put the rook on c7. I had understood, by the way, I had talked about it a little bit during the game, that I had to defend the pawn on f7. So queen g7, otherwise he exchanges and he wins the pawn on f7 afterwards. But thanks to the rook, he can't. So he doesn't want to exchange the queens. He plays queen h4. There I play rook c8. The computer tells me that e5 was the best move. Opening the position, and you see on the captures, well, we'll be able to recapture. Even the computer says h6 first to chase away the knight, then the captures, attacking the rook, the bishop, attacking the pawn on c3 afterwards. And finally, I repel the attack and the rest of the board turns in my favor. But in the position where I played rook c8, I told myself, the knight moves and I attack c3, the backward pawn. He plays queen f4, knight d8 to defend the pawn f7, that is attacking it, but also to free up my two rooks. He sends the pawn to h4, but I win the pawn on c3, and you see, it's still an advantage for black. A small advantage, but an advantage nonetheless. I have one extra pawn. Admittedly, it's somewhat compensated by his initiative, but it's still a little bit better for me. He plays h5, and that's when I thought, should I play h6 right away or not? In the end, I didn't play it, but I should have played it. Because in reality, if I don't play h6, my opponent could play it and slide the rook after in h3. So I return to defense. He plays rook h3, but he should have sent the pawn to h6. That was the best move. So I'm not letting the opportunity pass by a second time. I play h6 myself. He retreats to f3 with his knight. g5. I push back his pieces, queen e3. And there I missed the right plan. The right plan for me was to play f5. And actually, I didn't want to play it. Why didn't I want to play it? Because I didn't want to give him the square of 5. In reality, that's stupid. I should have given him that square of 5, because anyway, his knight, I can dislodge it with knight c6. The square of 5, it's a black square. He only has one knight, I have two. And above all, after f5, I only looked at the problems of f5, that is to say the square of 5, and I didn't look at the advantages. But after f5, I still threaten g4 with fork. I muzzle his bishop. I can also have the square e4 if I myself maneuver a knight onto this square. So this f5 push ensured me an advantage, or otherwise knight c6 to attack the pawn on d4 twice and control the square. I played rook c3. He played rook g3. And there, once again, one must play f5. But I didn't think at all about what this move brought me. It blocks the bishop, it threatens forks. I saw the disadvantage of the square on e5 while forgetting my color play. The color play, which, however, is my strength. This square is on a black square, so if I play f5 and he enters on e5 already, there is the push on f4. He can't do it. But then I could in any case dislodge his knight with knight c6, and he won't be able to exploit this black square since I have another knight and he doesn't have one anymore. And I will settle for f6 to control the square. You see, I'm only playing f6 to control the square in reality, He plays knight h2, he's going for the square g4. So once again, I have to play f5, especially since the knight can't even go to e5 anymore, but I'm not thinking about that move at all. I'm going to play queen c7. Why? Because I'm looking to play rook c1 now. But he plays knight g4, he's attacking the pawn on h6 and the pawn on f6. I come to defend, and then rook f3 attacking f6. And once again, I have to play f5. But this game is funny because I never see the move f5. Even though in the position, by the way, I don't have much time left on the clock, I have about 10 seconds, I think, and I'm telling you that I can't manage to defend the pawn on f6. Well, yes, because my pieces can't manage to defend. My queen can't come to defend a pawn that is attacked by a knight and a rook. Whereas in reality, I can defend this pawn by advancing, but I want so much not to give up the square of 5 that I don't play f5. It becomes a bit ridiculous, but I had to play f5. So in the position where I played rook c1, he takes on f6, so I take on e1. So obviously I lost the pawn, but since I had 1-1, it allows me to enter an endgame that is still decent for me. Knight e8 check, king g8. He brings his king to f1, I take his queen. He recaptures rook c1 check, king comes to d2, rook a1. He plays the pawn to a3. Here I can't take because he wants to do a fork check and pick up my rook. So I play rook a2 check, but he comes to c1. And here I really don't have much time left in the game, and that's what I'm missing. Obviously, I should have played knight c6 to go attack the pawn on the black square, the pawn d4, which he has trouble defending, actually, which he can't defend. And in the position, I give a check to try to gain a little bit of time. But in reality, it's a check that is totally losing for me because he can play bishop b1 and my rook is trapped. After that, the king will come to b2 and there's nothing I can do. That's when I resign the game. Well, I'm going to play rook takes bishop, but I'm out of time and I know I've lost at that point, actually. However, in this position, if I don't play this check, that proves fatal for me. It just goes to show that you shouldn't always give checks. Sometimes they are fatal. If I don't play this check, I need to play knight c6. And there, I attack the pawn on d4, and he can't defend it, so it's a good position for me, I think. Well, it's not lost for him because he has moves like knight f6. He can also play moves like king b1. My rook doesn't have many squares. Well, then we do have one, the square d2, but that's the only one it has, actually, my rook. Well, there you go. I hope this game was interesting. And also, you can support me, leave comments, give a thumbs up, share the video, and support the channel. We'll meet again soon for other adventures on the chessboard. Goodbye, everyone.